we have sports updates. So why not make it a date with us? In case you've just been moving around with your remote and here you are, please, tomorrow 6:30, we will open up and please be part of that. Now, 9th October is our independence. We got this in 1962 and we'll be celebrating 62 years since Uganda became an independent state, where the Union Jack was brought down and our national flag moved up in the skies. And then our national anthem was played, and there our instruments of power were handed to then the Prime Minister, Dr. Milton Obote. And from then, it has been a journey worth talking about, and this is what we are going to be focusing on. Now, with me, I have Commissioner Moses Watasa, who happens to be the Commissioner, Communication and Information Dissemination, Ministry of ICT and National Guidance, with whom we are going to be discussing this. You're most welcome.
I am very humbled and always very happy, Mr. Chirabo, to be here at UBC, where you do an amazing job. I really want to thank you, Richard, and of course the rest of the team. Great job you do to inform, to educate us, but also to mobilize us, but also to inspire us, like your theme, I think, goes. And I've been all over the country. Everyone is listening to UBC and watching UBC. So I'm happy to be part of your new day, where I hope that, like you've been doing, I've been watching you before I come on air. Hopefully we share with and brighten the day for the rest of the country through your great program.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's always a pleasure having you with us, Commissioner. Now, we are looking at our independence that we are going to be celebrating on the 9th of October. But when we talk about Uganda's independence, to start with, many people will ask and have this question. As we commemorate, as we celebrate, are we independent? Let's begin by informing or educating our viewer.
Yeah, Richard, we are independent. I liked your intro. It was a monumental night. That night, I was not born yet, but I'm a keen student of history. When you see the Union Jack, there's the symbolism of it. The Union Jack comes down, which had been flying in Uganda here for almost 100 years. Then our beautiful flag, the black, yellow and red. Then the national anthem was sung for the first time. A great job done by the late Professor George Kakoma. You know, the country erupted in celebrations. So for me, then the transfer of the instruments of power from the colonialists to people of this country, and that came off a backdrop of a lot of struggle. I was listening to His Excellency the President, I think about 4 weeks ago. A lot of people put a lot in this. People like the late Ignatius Musazi. I was also reading about the Legico, the pressure to have African people. The Legico was the equivalent of the parliament as we know it today, but that was before independence. So it was called the Legislative Council. When now the colonialists started admitting native people like the Prime Minister then, Wechitiwa Kawalia Kagwa. I think there was Ziraba Muzare, who was also the equivalent of the Prime Minister in Busoga. There was Omuhichirwa Nyangaviachi, who was the Secretary General for Bunyoro Kingdom. So a lot of things were happening in the region, in Kenya as well, in Tanzania, because some of these movements were operating in tandem. So independence did not come on really on a silver platter. It was a jostling, it was a struggle. So that on that night in 1962, we actually get our independence. I think it causes a lot of nostalgia for me every time we are in this week building up to independence. So yeah, so we got self-rule, but at the same time, Richard, there were ingredients of this harmony, because you recall again, I was listening to the president who was lecturing us in State House about how the colonialists had fragmented our society along ethnic and religious lines, and there had been what they call religious wars. You can imagine, Richard, religious wars where you had Christians against Muslims, and recall these religions were brought to Africa by these foreigners. So here we were natives, we are fighting ourselves over religions. Probably we maybe Fred didn't understand very well at that time. So at independence, we get independence, but the society was still quite a bit fractured along ethnic and religious lines. And unfortunately, some of the leaderships that came immediately after independence didn't do much to reconcile the country, to build unity and to forge nationalism. If anything, some of the leaders also used those divisions for political expedience.
Yes.
So apart from not doing enough to build cohesion and nationalism, they also used that religion and ethnicity to further divide the country. No wonder, Richard, in those 24 years between 1962 and 1986, we had 8 changes of government in this country. And those changes, as we know, were mainly volatile, involving war and further tearing apart the country. So yes, we're independent, but in those years that I've talked about, there was a lot of challenges. The economy broke down. Richard, where I come from, you are younger than me, definitely.
Definitely.
There was a plant we used to use to wash clothes because there was no soap. I come from Elgon, present-day Bulambuli district. This plant is called Shilurusa in Lugisu. I don't know its name in English because I'm not a zoologist. Yeah. So it's called Shilurusa. We were using it to wash clothes. Then there was no sugar, there was no soap. I mean, even the key basics that you needed were not available. The economy broke down. Remember, by 1986, the tax collections were paltry shillings 5 billion. That shows you the state of the economy, because the taxes are levied on economic activity. So the economy so shrunk that you know, we could barely afford to raise any money to run either government or deliver services. Even what were meant to be security services, the army, for example. I grew up, Richard, in a village called Muyembe in Bulambuli. It was next to a military detach at that time, and I remember very well an old man who was heading that detach used to tell soldiers that if you have a gun, you shouldn't say you don't have food, because the gun should provide for you. So if you have a gun, in other words, you should use a gun to grab food and other items from civilians. So it was a difficult period, the 1970s, the 1980s, a lot of uncertainty. Of course, the changes also. So while we got independence, the country remained fragile. The economy breaks down, security degenerates, extrajudicial killings. You know, when I first came to Kampala, I came in 1988. But I used to listen to, I have a brother, by the way, who is born in the year of independence, who is now a bit more grey than me.
Definitely.
And I think he's watching. My brother Sam has much more grey hair than me. Now the stories they were telling, Richard, even this Kampala.
This is Robert Chirabo.
Yes, Robert.
Robert, yes.
The stories they used to tell me, they used to stay around Chivuli. You know, you are coming to town, you are jumping over bodies. Those years, 1981, 1983. So skipping over bodies as you come to work was like the normal, as bad as it was.
Yes.
But it was happening quite frequently, to the extent that it looked normal.
Now, Commissioner, you've given us a very rich background. How we arrived at 1962, and then we come to 1968.
Yes.
Now, there is a generation that did not see the struggle of 1986.
Yes.
And that generation could not have seen what transpired to 1962. Now, to that generation, the journey from 1986 till today is what they are looking at and asking themselves, were we independent when we still have a budget? Is it worthy celebrating when we still come up with laws and say homosexuality is not going to be a thing here, and someone from very far criticizes, threatens what our values are and we stand for?
Yeah, Richard, that is true, and especially for those young people, my message to them is that this country, the way it is now, it shouldn't be taken for granted because of what we have gone through to get where we are. Of course, Uganda is part of the global community. For example, Uganda is a state party to the UN. We are a member of the AU. I know, for example, we are a state party to what we call Global Sustainable Development Goals. But even when we are under those global frameworks, Uganda has its uniqueness and its values and its heritage, which is why, for me, I'm glad that the leadership of this country has taken a firm stand about some non-negotiables, and these include our cultural values, the uniqueness of Uganda as an African country. So I'm happy that the leadership of the country has taken a firm stand, and the young people should pay attention to that, because I know that currently, because of excessive exposure to digital content, and which is easily downloadable, they are being exposed to a lot of things which are not by heritage African, and a lot of them are actually detrimental to them. You talked about homosexuality. So homosexuality is not an African thing. Eh? Of course, in Uganda, like we've said, no one is hunting homosexuals that maybe they're in this hotel, let's go and hunt for them. What we are saying is that we need to protect our values, and that our young people especially shouldn't be recruited or conscripted into homosexuality. So we do take a firm stand, and of course, as you know, this has come at a bit of a price. We've lost a bit of our funding from some of those places. But for me, that then tests us, our independence, because as an independent country, we should be finding solutions locally to address most of our challenges. And that's why I'm happy. For example, Mr. Chirabo, I did say that in 1986, we didn't have URA, we had Minister of Finance, which was collecting taxes. They were collecting 5 billion. Yes. Today, we are in excess of 30 trillion, I think, as the economy has grown over the years. Because remember, in 1986, there was the 10-point program, which was a minimum recovery program. Basics, the ones like salt I've talked about, soap and what, restore civility, rule of law, then build cohesion under our pillars of the ideology, which are Pan-Africanism, democracy, patriotism, and socio-economic transformation. So under socio-economic transformation, building core infrastructure, roads, dams, airports, schools, health centers. So all of these have translated into building a stronger economy, with the, of course, liberalizing. In the late 80s, this very government opened up to liberalize the economy to pave way for expansion and rapid growth of the private sector. So it means in the process that our tax base also expanded, the tax base being those activities against which we can levy and collect taxes. So even the growth in revenue collections is not just by accident, it's due to careful planning, prioritizing, and committed execution. So I'm happy to note that even our own capabilities to collect revenue, source it domestically, have improved tremendously.
So we are heading to financial independence.
We are heading there. We are making good progress. Of course, I know that there are people who say that we also have substantial debt, but the truth is that debt is part of running statecraft. If you look at the US, for example, it's actually the most indebted country in the world. Maybe some people don't know that. The United States, those who have smartphones, you can Google even right now. The US is the most heavily indebted country in the world. But the question really is that how do you deploy the resources?
Yes.
That's why, for example, in Uganda, we are deploying whether domestically or foreign sourced resources towards the areas that support production. For example, roads, education, health. Now we are also moving to work on the standard gauge railway. I read yesterday that some of the pipes for the pipeline, the oil and gas pipeline, those materials are arriving. So for us, we are prioritizing putting resources in areas that actually support production, because when you support production, you create jobs, you create opportunities, but you also create activities against which we levy taxes. In other words, you are expanding the tax base. So we are independent, and anyway, as people know, the people who might be watching us, when you lend me money, it means I'm credit worthy. Because if you think I'm not credit worthy, you wouldn't lend me money.
If you're a risk venture, no one would offer you money.
If you don't have capacity to use it well and use it for production and pay back, one, the principal, but two, also the interest, because some of these loans have interest against them.
But Commissioner,
so for
some
me,
would also say that,
the outlook is good for the country.
That said, that maybe we may hit the red tape and fail to recover.
I read a lot. I read almost all the time. I've been reading actually before I came on air. I've also been looking at comparative figures. Uganda is well within the safe zone in as far as the debt to GDP ratio is concerned. Compared even to just neighboring countries, I mean like Kenya here, I think anything up to around 70% of their GDP is encumbered by way of debt. Now in the case of Uganda, we are not even at 50% yet. So because I know our friends in the Ministry of Finance and even the President himself, they are keeping tabs on this debt, but are also ensuring that the money we generate locally, but also the money that we attain through concessional loans is put towards areas that will support repayment by, by expanding the economy, i.e. supporting production. You can see, for example, now, Mr. Chirabo, again, I was reading, there are very, very few governments in this world, Mr. Chirabo, you can do your own research about this. There are very few that give money directly to their people to invest in production, like the government of Uganda that does. For example, now we have the parish development model,
yes,
under which we are taking wealth creation to the parish level. But it's not the only one. We've had the likes of the Mioga, we have had the...
We are bringing the 39% who are not in the money economy,
yes, because,
to come into the money economy.
Absolutely, because you see, I want to thank you. If you have 39% of your people who are not within the money economy, that needs to be addressed, because look, for you, for example, to attract investment, manufacturing, services, these pillars that the President talks about, you need to have an adequate and growing aggregate demand in a country like Uganda, which includes, there's demand by government, but most of this demand should be by people of Uganda. And now I think our population is in the region of about 46 million. And I'm so happy you saw last weekend, we were in Kapeka, where there was an exhibition by the Namunkekera, the industrial hub. It's growing big. It's more than 20 industries now. They are buying local materials. They are employing more than 5,000 people. And most of these people are people actually from the greater Royal Triangle. So when people earn, either as households or as individuals or as communities, you have greater, what they call effective demand in economics. In other words, people who can demand, but they also have money to pay for goods and services.
Power to purchase.
Yeah, purchasing power. So all that stimulates the economy. Then government collects more revenue because, Mr. Chirabo, in this country, most of the taxes we collect are actually indirect taxes. So these are taxes levied on consumable goods and services. So whichever way you look at it, you know, we are putting money in people's pockets, the youth programs, livelihood programs, the women enterprises, the Myoga, now the parish model, because we want to slash this significant proportion of people who, as the president says, bakolele chida chonka. Because I was there in Chibuku when he launched the PDM. It's not healthy to have a country where close to 40% of its people produce only for the stomach. So this government is unique in that we are not like the rest of other governments who say government does formulate and implement just policy. We go deeper and we go lower and say what can we do for our people to support them to create wealth and the opportunities even in the villages. That's why the parish model is actually a rural-based initiative. Well, and I think we are going in the right direction. So independent, and our theme of saying to recommit ourselves to fortify, you know, our future. This is where it becomes valid because we've achieved a lot, but we need to consolidate and fortify as we work to achieve even more going into the future.
The Commissioner has properly given us the journey from 1986. I want to thank you for the rich history prior to 1962, then also that journey 1986 till to date, where you've given all reasons to justify that indeed we are an independent country. On the political side, yes, we have a vibrant political atmosphere, multi-party dispensation, we have a president who was elected. All these justify that Uganda indeed, despite a few challenges, it is an independent state and has all reasons to celebrate. I'll go for a very short break now. When I return, I want to focus more on the theme for this year's celebration. Why that? What do we intend to achieve? And then how do we move forward after 62 years of independence? Let's return.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
The East Africa UK Tourism and Culture Expo 2024 is here, happening on 8th and 9th of November 2024 under the theme Enhancing Tourism as Engine for Social and Economic Transformation on the sidelines of WTM London at the Rembrandt Hotel, 11th Thalo, PI South Kensington, London, SW7 2RS, United Kingdom. For tickets, exhibitors will pay £1,000 and participants will pay £300. For more information, call +256 787 096 100 or +254 795 806 969. Visit www.eaukTourismExpo.com to register.
A new dawn on Behind the Headlines with me, Timothy Nyangweso, every Wednesday live in our studios in the heart of Kampala. We have conversations that have analysis, explanation, but not every truth is fact and not every fact is truth. Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
All on your public broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Hey kids, we're going to count today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Enjoy 5 ways to love your baby, smoothen and protect your baby's skin with 5 new gentle formulations. Original to nurture your baby, aloe vera to protect your boo-boo skin. Cocoa cocoa butter to comfort your pinkle, mild scent to soothe your little one, and avocado to soften your buju skin. Available in all supermarkets, retail shops, and cosmetics shops near you. Move it, baby jelly. All day confidence.
Juko.
Yo.
Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Uganda, haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Welcome back from that break. Thank you so much for being with us on UBC TV. It is still Good Morning Uganda Extra, and I have Commissioner Moses Watasa from the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance. Now, on the 9th of October, every year since 1962, Uganda celebrates her independence, and we will be celebrating 62 years of Uganda's independence. Main celebrations will be in Busia, but that the Commissioner will talk about more later. Now, we are still looking at why should we celebrate? Are we independent? What is the value of Uganda's independence? And looking at the journey where we've come from, where we are, and then we shall also focus on where we are aiding, moving forward, the future Uganda, 62 years and above. But we discussed the economy so much. Now, one of the things we didn't focus on is structures that build a nation, an independent nation. Commissioner, how have we moved in that aspect?
Yeah, thank you very much, Ndugu Chirabo, for prompting me. We've moved a long distance because those who the young people especially, and really young people, this is for you. Uganda is not the way it is accidentally. A lot of work went into this. I first came to Kampala in 1984. I had a problem with one of my knees, and I remember I was brought for treatment in Mengo Hospital. One of the amazing things for you young people, for example, what you call now nightclubs were not there. Because the nights were extremely dangerous here in Kampala, but also
boast of the night economy.
Yes, but also in other places like Mbale that I knew well, because security had broken down. So what you call nightclubs were actually day clubs. There were clubs on this road, Johnson, I think Johnson. There was a club there called Chase, I think. So young people would go dancing in Nduguchirabo starting at around 10. And by 3 p.m. you are going home, because once night falls, you are not sure what is going to happen to you. Now, there's no weekend that goes by these days without album launches. There's even what we call a night economy now in Uganda, and it's booming and it's boosting our economy. But that cannot happen in a country where people are running up and down, where there are gunshots all over the place. So young people, we cannot take this for granted, and I think we should credit specifically His Excellency the President and the UPDF and the other security agencies which have ensured that Uganda, because Ndugu Chirabo, Uganda used to be a net exporter of asylum seekers to countries like Tanzania, Kenya, and the rest of the world and Europe. Today, Uganda is a net exporter of peace. Those who may not know, we have contributed to stabilizing Congo, South Sudan, you know, Sierra Leone. We have been to countries like Liberia. So from being a net exporter of asylum seekers, today Uganda is a net exporter of peace and stabilization efforts. Again, that is because of the capabilities we have built through deliberate efforts, particularly by His Excellency the President, through structures like the UPDF and you know, the police, intelligence, and other security agencies. So to that extent, in Ndugu Chirabo, you can see we are not a country now that you can say the UN is sending troops to stabilize Uganda. If anything, we are the ones supporting the UN to stabilize countries like Somalia. This is what independence is about. After so many years, remember we said that in the 24 years after independence, we had 8 changes of government. And all that turmoil brought this country into total paralysis, where now the rest of the world was looking after us. But now, we are a key actor in supporting the rest of the world to stabilize other parts of the world. To the extent now Uganda is the 3rd leading host of refugees in the world. Today we host close to 1.5 million refugees. A lot of these are from South Sudan, there are those from Congo, there are others from other parts of the world. So our stature as an independent state, but also as a key actor in the national, regional, and global efforts are concerned, Uganda is way up there. Again, this is not an accident. But just to go back a bit, we did talk about building the structures of the state, because when a country is independent, the test of the independence is also in how robust and resilient and strong are its structures. Remember, in 1986 again, there was no parliament. Young people again who may not know. This parliament was just a building. It is behind here where we are. It was a building, but we didn't have MPs in there debating and, you know.
So that part of the organs of government was
it was dead, because as we know, the government has 3 arms: the legislature, the judiciary, and the executive, which operate in tandem to ensure controls, but also democratic deepening and functioning. So as we know, in the early 90s, this very government started the process of making the constitution in Uganda. In other words, now we are moving away from anarchy, extrajudicial killings, ruled by decree. Most of the 70s, the Uganda was ruled by decree.
Yes.
So you wouldn't know in which frame of mind the president wakes up. You remember when he announced that the Asians must leave?
Expulsion.
This was a decree, you know. So now we shift to the early 90s when we start the constitution making process, which gives us the judiciary the way it is now. It also gives us the legislature, it also gives us the executive, but it also spells out the functions and roles of each of these and how they operate together. So that strengthened the independence and the strength of Uganda as a democracy, but also as an accountable government, because look, Parliament, for example, does the legislation, appropriation of budgets, but they also check the executive. So then we had these institutions, the Human Rights Commission, the Electoral Commission, even the army itself now transits from the NRA to the UPDF as we know it now. So all these, the courts of law, the likes of the Law Reform Commission, name them, all these are derived from the Constitution. And it also spells out, for example, how the president and the other levels of responsibility operate these structures of the state. So that strengthened, again, Uganda as a strong democracy and a country with functional governance systems, structures, and procedures. the Auditor General. All these are constitutional bodies which ensures that, for example, public resources are used properly as per the budgets and broader objectives of the country. So, so that gave us what they would call in Uganda a firm, again, musingi, foundation, in as far as entrenching democracy, but also building an independent and resilient country, but also as a government is concerned. So, so it has been
it's been a journey worth talking
but it's
about.
really worth, and we need to fortify and secure these achievements, these progress, all this progress we've made.
Now, Commissioner,
which is why the theme becomes critical, to fortify and secure this, because it is maintaining and further strengthening is part of fostering a better destiny for the country.
Well, one wise man once told me that the hardest thing is managing success. Now, throughout you've been giving us success stories of Uganda since our independence, most of from 1986 when the NRM government took power. When you look at the theme, it brings that out clearly. But Commissioner, how do we move forward? How do we ensure we manage the success with a generation that may not have been so much part of this history, yet it is the majority of our population?
Absolutely, Mr. Chirabo, and this is one reason through the likes of UBC, because I can tell you UBC covers. There's a time I was in Congo and I was pleasantly surprised to see that I can watch UBC and listen to UBC. What am I saying? We shouldn't get complacent. We should keep our eyes on the ball. We should stay the course and stay on the rails. And that is why, because some people, I read a lot, some people have been saying, why does the president keep saying Bazukuru? He also knows that we are a young country, and Uguchirabo, because over 35%, sorry, over 85% of this country is aged below the age of 35. So this is a young population. The median age is between 14 and 15. So this is one of the youngest countries in the world, which is why we need to keep educating and sensitizing them, maybe even in simple language, and to get probably peer educators among them to keep talking to them. I also like the idea of documenting our history. These the museums. Ndugu MK, I think they set up a museum which documents. I mean MK. I mean the CDF. Friend Mohozi Kainerugaba. The idea of setting up these museums so that people can understand the history of the country, connect with it, know that the country has been constructed on a lot of efforts, including lives lost. People have paid the ultimate price. But also, this is why, as a government, we are working towards ensuring that we keep young people in the socio-economic transformation trajectory of the country. Programs like youth programs, the skilling programs, I'm sure you have heard about these. Here in Kampala, there's a lot of skilling efforts going on under State House and some of our other partners. Education, this government has invested quite heavily in universal primary education, universal secondary education. So we need to strengthen these programs, but we also need to have provision for the youth who are not in the education system, those who are in the informal sector. That is why programs now like the parish model, really young people who are outside there watching us, these programs are for you, and I know they are designed with an affirmative action component so that you young people specifically can tap into them, benefit from them. Because Ndugu Chirabo, about 2 years ago, I was privileged to talk to General Salim Saleh, the coordinator for Operation Wealth Creation. He told me that poverty is a security issue.
Definitely.
that if we don't properly address poverty, it can foment insecurity in the country. And I told him I was so happy that he had framed the poverty as a security issue. It's also an economic issue, of course. It's mainly an economic issue, but it can have a dimension of security. So what am I saying? As a government, we are committed to ensuring that young people are part and parcel of the inclusive socio-economic journey that we are on. And that's why these industrial parks are also partly meant to create employment, to also buy materials from people, even young people, people like in saloons, small businesses, these car washing machines. Some time back, I saw the president was here in Mulago. It's called Kunya, I think. He was physically distributing these jet car washing machines. So what we are saying is that we want to have something that works for every type of young person. The young people who are in school should stay in school and complete, because the government has put in place UPE, USE, but now the skilling programs also ensure that people can, one, employ themselves or are supported to create economic activities through the likes of the parish model, the skilling programs, tailoring, making footwear, because it's a fact that not everyone would be absorbed in the formal sector. So government is looking at this in a multi-pronged way. What does that mean, young people? I know you spend a lot of time on social media, digital media, which is not bad, but you should also allocate part of that time to look for opportunities where they are. Where can I get some concessional funding, and where are the opportunities from government, but also elsewhere. So we are listening, and we are ready to listen to and engage with young people, take their views. And for them, government is also investing a lot in ICT. Yes. We have built more than 4,300 kilometers of fiber. So we have connected over 65% of the country. We are going to connect the rest 35 probably in the next 3 years or so.
With these connections,
so how do we use
the internet? But also, Commissioner, you come from the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance. Now, in a number of countries, there is deliberate effort for generations to understand the history, what their country stands for, deliberate. If you go to Israel, despite what they're going through, but even a child of 5 years may tell you there's no better country. There is what I call it indoctrination. When you go to China, when you go to Japan, there's that that government deliberately ensures the population. I think some time back we had it for people who are joining university.
Yes.
They used to go to Nadi.
Yes.
And I don't know how it was fought, but there was something regarding knowing your country, what your country stands for. It seems this is no longer a priority, or your docket, because I think this comes in your docket, is something
Ndugu Chirabo, we are also the Ministry for Guidance.
Yes.
We are Ministry of ICT and National Guidance. And I wouldn't say that we have abandoned that. No, we haven't. If anything, we are doing that. You may recall...
Go to the kinds of Russia, Italy, you're taken for that course.
Yeah, you may recall, Ndugu Chirabo, we have a whole program called the Community Mobilization and Mindset Change, where we are doing considerable work through partnerships with our friends in the Patriotism Secretariat in the Office of the President. Madam Helen has been doing a good job. We do some of these things collaboratively. So what we are doing now is to even mainstream this as part of the teaching. So that right from a formative stage, because a lot of studies show that people take in ideas most when they are younger. I am not saying Ndugu Chirabo cannot take in an idea, but a lot of studies show that. So we want to inculcate this from formative stages of childhood through the education system. So we are working with the National Curriculum Development Center, Ministry of Education. But even what you talked about, we do targeted grounding in the ideology. And when I say ideology, it's ideology for Uganda. This is an ideology for the country. If we say we are about patriotism, It's not religion, it's not tribe. If we're about Pan-Africanism, we need to address our challenges as Africans about democracy and socio-economic transformation. I know that some people want to twist this and they say it is a party ideology. This is an ideology for the country. And I think it has taken us far. So for the young people, then we also need, in my view, we are doing a shift. Soon we are taking a new communication policy, Ndugu Chirabo, to cabinet for approval, where we are gonna go strong on using digital tools to engage and guide and educate and continuously work with young people. Because again, I've read a lot of studies, even recent reports from UCC. Every day we have about 13 million people who are active online. So we are going to go where they are, where we have these short messages, clips, why I like Uganda. Uganda is my country. Cut them into short messages, because we also know these young people have a quite short attention span. Yes. So we want to target and engage them from their uniqueness as young people who have a lot of energy, but also make some of these messages enticing and interesting. We intend, for example, to use some of their own, for example, musicians, performing artists, who we know have a powerful pulling power, but also have a lot of followers among young people. So we are going to engage some of them as deliverers of messages on patriotism, love for the country, and why we need to have young people actively get involved in fortifying and also protecting what we have achieved as a country, because these are the people to whom we are going to hand the country going forward, take it or leave it. So young people, this is your country. We don't want to just talk at you, we also want to listen to you. And that is why we create all these platforms to not only talk to you, but also to listen to you, but also to have you talk to us. So even in media, you know that we have these programs across the country. Again, one of the things this government has done well is to open up the media. We have more than 300 radios across the country. We are talking to people, people are talking to us in their languages, and whether you're a young person who is educated or who is in school or out of school or in the informal sector, we want to listen to all of you so that with your input, we continue building and developing a country in which everyone can be proud of and feel at home, participate in, grow our incomes, and like you say yourselves, young people, you work with swag, eh? Because you're
Well,
Ugandan.
Commissioner, time seems to be flying so fast. But before I let you go, I just need your parting shot where the venue is going to be, and of course invite Ugandans to come and enjoy and celebrate 62 years of Uganda's independence.
Okay, to Uganda, this is a good day, and in my other life, I'm also a preacher, so I'm praying for you with the Ndugu Chirabo, that God blesses you today, but that God continues to bless also our country. 62 years, it's quite some time, it's a long time. Let's reflect, each of us, what are we doing for our country? Of course, there's what we expect from our country. But our country is yourselves. When we put ourselves together, that's the country we call Uganda. So what can we do for our country? How do we consolidate the progress we've made? We need you to be part of it. But as the government, we are also open. We are here to listen to you as we reflect on the 62nd independence anniversary. We are going to be at Busiho Primary School in Masafu. Town Council in Busia District. The chief host and the chief guest is going to be none other than His Excellency the President. If you are around Busia, if you are around Tororo, if you are around Miranda, my good friends, come to Busia and join us and be a part of this. But if you are not able, UBC will be here, I'm sure, the national broadcaster. We invite you to follow UBC. And UBC, I'm happy to know now you are also on social media. So young people, if you want to engage, there's going to be a big team from UBC. They are going to stream live. Let's have your feedback as we reflect over the theme, but also the 62 years that we have been as an independent country. Give us your views so that these views, we continue working with them to continue building an even more prosperous Uganda, a Uganda that works for you, a Uganda that works for our region, but also the rest of the world, because like we've said, Uganda is now a leading actor in regional and global initiatives, especially peace building, democracy, and the development agenda to which Uganda is a part, sustainable development goals, the UN arrangement, regional, the African Union. Uganda is a proud member of all these initiatives. But why are we able to do all this? Because you are a part of it, so stay a part of it. And I wish you a happy and the blessed 62nd Independence anniversary. And to you, Ndugu Chirabo, and the rest of the team at UBC, the country, I'm sure, is waiting. I believe you will do a good job as we mark yet another independence anniversary. For God and my country, good day, Uganda, and blessings to you all.
Well, thank you so much, Moses Watasa, Commissioner, Communication and Information Dissemination, Ministry of ICT and National Guidance, for having taken us through the journey after how we've moved, what we've achieved, what we stand for, and how best we can move forward. Happy 62nd Independence anniversary, which we shall celebrate on the 9th of October. To the older persons, today is your day. We wish you the best. I know you're in Masaka celebrating the International Day for Older Persons. May you have fruitful discussions and enjoy your day. See you tomorrow, the good Lord willing, for God and my country.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
A new dawn on Behind the Headlines with me, Timothy Nyangweso. Every Wednesday, live in our studios in the heart of Kampala, we have conversations that